I'm now going to call the Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 meeting of the Norfolk County Commissioners into session. This meeting is being held under the executive order on remote participation. On Thursday, March 12th, 2020, Governor Charles Baker issued an order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. That order was effective immediately until it is rescinded or the state of the emergency is terminated. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Call the roll. Commissioner Collins.
Present.
Commissioner Stady.
Present, sir.
And
Hey, Joe, you might want to tip your camera down a little bit because I can see that you get like from the half your face.
I'm not on my regular computer because we had a little trouble dialing in, and I'm on the one.
There you go. That's good. That's good.
On the
You look
top.
fine. You look good, Mr.
I can
Chairman.
get a telephone book and sit on it.
You're looking dapper. You're looking dapper.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3, executive session. I need a motion, please.
Okay. Motion to go into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares.
I'll second the motion made by Mr. Collins, Commissioner Collins.
On going into executive session, Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Stady,
Yes, sir.
and
Madam
Shea votes
Chairman.
yes.
Chairman Shea, if you could just clarify and declare that a open session would negatively impact.
What?
I have declared that an open session would negatively impact, have a detrimental effect on our bargaining position. Thank you.
Perfect.
We
Thank
will
you,
be
Chairman.
returning after executive session to complete the remainder of our lengthy agenda today.
Excellent.
Anyone who's not in this executive session, if you could go into the waiting room, or we'll wait 1 minute and get started. I see our attorney here.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wait one moment.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Take care,
Thank you.
Scott.
Take care, Scott. Thank you.
Just letting everybody back in.
All right. Let's see. Boy.
Mr. Chairman, we are back.
Okay, we're back on the record here on our April 7th meeting of the Norfolk County Commissioners. We're on agenda item number 4, which is the minutes of the open session meeting of March 31st, 2021 for approval.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and second to grant to approve the minutes of the March 31st open meeting. All in favor? Aye, it is unanimous. Number 5, minutes of the executive session meeting of March 31st, 2021 for approval, not to be released at this time. Motion, please.
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes of the executive session meeting of March 31st, 2021 for approval and not to be disclosed at this time. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Number 6, approval of the minutes of the executive session meeting of March 24th, not to be disclosed at this time.
Peter.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to accept the minutes of the executive session meeting of March 24th, 2021 for approval and not to be disclosed at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 7, public comment. Mr. Buckley, did you receive any requests for public comment?
3, Mr. Chair, we did not.
Okay, I'm going to go by number 7. Number 8, facilities maintenance, capital improvement report and coronavirus update. John McGowan, are you there?
Oh.
Have we heard from John today? I see, is Sheila there?
I believe he just signed back in. He may be. This may be. Mr. McGowan?
Yes, I'm here.
There we go.
All right, John, the floor is yours.
Thank
Under facilities maintenance capital improvement report.
You'll be surprised, I don't have anything.
Ooh.
I don't have any capital report, and there's no COVID-19
That's good
this
news.
past week.
That's a step in the right direction too, John.
Yeah, we did good on that, but I had a few issues come up, with the buildings. I had a fence blew down and rent them. I'm having a contractor look into it, giving us a price on repairing it or replacing it, one way or the other. And I have the regular maintenance, small projects going on, and other than that, nothing major to report.
John, your department was assisting District Attorney Morrissey, right, in terms of getting the,
Oh yes, yeah. We've been making a podium for him and a witness stand for the rental of Lombardos, and he's paying for the time that our men are working on it. It's not our pay. Well, we initially pay him, but he's going to get an invoice from us for the time. And he already bought all the material, so, I mean, there's no expense to us for that. And we should be getting finished with that pretty soon, too. But he's happy that, he's got us to do that for him. And we were happy to do it. I was happy to do it, as long as he was paying for it.
sure.
Other than that, nothing else going on. If you have any questions, I try to answer them.
You staying on the call today? You're going to be,
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely.
okay, great, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other questions of John McGowan? On
I
item number
got
6?
my second shot a little while ago.
Hey, there you go. Congratulations.
Did you get it today, John?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
That's good.
good luck. Let's see.
I feel a little different, but not that much.
Okay,
Lots
last
of
call.
fluids. Fluids are the key, I hear. Lots of
I can take care of that pretty good.
John, I don't know if this is a question for you or Nancy, and we are going to hear from Nancy later, but what of the vendor at Stoughton on are those air exchanges? What's the latest on that, or do you know?
I really don't know. I know that he wasn't going to purchase anything until he got a PO. And I don't know what the holdup is on that. You'll have to ask Nancy.
Hi, Commissioner, I'm here on the line.
Oh,
Go ahead, Nancy. Can you answer
Hi.
that?
Our normal procedure is I'm just waiting for their bonds to come in. As soon as I receive their bonds, the PO will be issued. That's the only thing I'm waiting for. I'm supposed to have them today.
I did get a call today from Kirsten Hughes, who is the clerk of the Stoughton Court Inquiry,
Mm.
about when this would get started. So I told her we'd ask, and we'd keep an eye on it.
Yeah, as soon as I receive the bonds, the PO is ready to go. I just have to approve it. So as soon as the bonds are in, that will be done, and I'll scan it to them right away. They'll have it. But they have everything else to go forward.
Okay, I'll pass that on. Thank you. Okay, John, anything else? Last call for John McGowan. Okay, number 9. Appointments, we have none. We do have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee at 2 p.m. I would remind everyone. Number 10, any old business? Number 11, personnel matters for consideration. We have one at the recreation facility and one at the agricultural high school. Under number 11.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, on the first matter, move the notice for contingent employment for Kathleen Walbridge of Braintree as a seasonal pro shop employee at the rate stated effective 4/8/21.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to grant the request of the Wallaston Recreation Facility for seasonal pro shop employee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next one is at the agricultural school, substitute custodian.
Notice of appointment, Mr. Chairman, I'd move of Charles Holton of Cumberland, Rhode Island as a substitute custodian at the rate stated, effective 4/8/21.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to grant the request of Norfolk County Agricultural School for notice of appointment for a substitute custodian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Number 12, payroll and expense warrant for approval.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move the following as in the order: 21-40 payroll county in the amount of $136,040.96.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, next one, Commissioner.
I'll move second line, 21-40 payroll school, in the amount of $330,834.94. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
it is unanimous.
What, I don't know what this is, credit payment, WRF. What, can you explain that? Somebody,
I'm sorry, what is it?
what is WRF, credit card payment? W,
don't-
Boston regulation.
oh, okay. Oh, these initials. Okay. All right, thank you. I'll move on the date 4/6/21, the credit card payment of Wollaston Recreational Facility, $15,520.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, I'll move the expense of the county dated 4/1/21, $64,397.81. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
that's unanimous. We have a 1:30 bid opening, actually two. I'm gonna skip down and try to take care of a couple other items that are not, well, it's not 1:30 yet, although it's 1:25. Let's go number 14. We have no contract awards today, so we won't be doing that. Assistant Director Buckley, do you think you can give us an American Rescue Plan legislative update
Time me.
in
3
5 minutes?
Time me. I'll do it in 3, Mr. Chairman.
I'm at number 15.
Excellent.
We're all on the agenda. Report of,
Excellent.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're combining it with a legislative update. Dates to be aware of. Just want to draw your attention to the fact that the House budget comes out on Wednesday, and amendments are due a week from today. When the budget comes out on Wednesday, and they are due a week from Friday. We are continuing to get very good indication from the legislature that outside Section 77, which we've spoken about previously from the governor's budget, will not be included. And so that is good news. I will update the commissioners via email when the budget comes out. We'll just watch it like a hawk. We have a lot of friends up there. We're continuing our discussions. I've been able to schedule some meetings with some of the outlying legislators who have yet to sign on. All of them said, hey, just really haven't gotten to it on the stack. There's no negative. There's no one really in opposition. It's just a scheduling and a timing thing for most of them. So that's good news. On the American Recovery Act, I was able to have a conversation with Sean Cronin from the Division of Local Services at 11 o'clock this morning, along with Heath Farr, who's the point person there. The only real thing to point out is we discussed timelines and just when the administration thought these guidelines would actually come out. And he wanted to point out that in the CARES Act, what happened was guidelines were promulgated quite quickly, and the previous administration ended up revising them about 10 times, kind of as we went along, and what was permissible and what was not. And they're hearing from a lot of different states that the goal is to have a kind of complete package of what is of the guidelines and not sort of build the plane as you are flying it. So they believe that's the reason why we haven't gotten preliminary guidelines yet, that they're trying to give us one complete box. But he did note that many governors are now beginning to talk about what their plans are for their money. Many of them may be talking about things that might be beyond the scope. So there's that kind of dual tension of the need to get some guidelines for all of us, but the need to get a complete document. So that's really the only update we have. We've heard again from some of the towns. We may be getting some letters from them, but nothing else of note.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go fast if
Go
we,
ahead,
if you
Commissioner.
want, if we have permission, of course. May I
Sure.
speak? Yeah, Mr. Buckley, Bill, good job. Again, I know you're on top of this, and I know it's evolving, and we're all taking any information we can. Actually, there was something even on the news. It's been hitting TV. It's been on the Globe. It certainly is evolving, but it still seems to be consistent discussion of infrastructure, across the nation, addressing water, and addressing, of course, broadband. Those seem to be the topical things, and then essential workers in terms of where you can help out both in the county and the community. So it seems like they're laying out a framework of where the money can and cannot go. It's just a matter of oversight, and then how do you basically dispense it? Would you agree with that at this point? Are we kind of heading in the right direction?
I would, well, we did discuss, one of the things that is concerning for me is the fact that in the previous CARES Act allocation, it's explicitly said that money can be utilized for the administration of the grant. And it's not explicitly said in the ARPA money. So we think that's going to be the case, but like that number one, I think, is my greatest concern, is to make sure that we have it in writing that we can spend administration. But yes, we're seeing these kind of broad categories, but like broadband, for example, is really not an issue in Norfolk County. We have a pretty solid broadband network currently. As far as water infrastructure and things of that nature, stormwater, I think that's huge. We did hear from the president of the Neponset River Watershed Association a couple of weeks ago. He was calling about the solar project, but he kind of said, by the way, want to give a pitch for stormwater. And I think, you're correct. We have the kind of broad categories. We sort of know what can be permissible, but
okay.
We're just kind of waiting.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to mention that letter. We did get that from the Neponset Valley Water Association, Watershed. So again, we're just on hold, but we see it. All right.
And they also wanted to register their support for our solar initiative as well.
So. Oh, okay, good. Well, thank you. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect timing, Mr. Chairman.
It's now is 1:30, and we're going to go back to number 13, bid openings. The first one is a 2016 or newer utility truck for the Norfolk County Agricultural High School. I'm going to turn this over to our purchasing agent, director, and procurement director, Nancy Rockwell.
Hi, for the,
Good
as
afternoon.
just mentioned, for the bid for the 2016 new utility truck for the agricultural high school, we did not receive any bids.
Oh.
This is a vehicle that's, I think, is going to be sort of hard to come by. We might have to think about buying a used truck via a bid process and retrofitting it. It went out to 6 different companies, and no one can seem to be able to supply one. I did have a discussion with Rick, and we'll discuss it further later today or sometime this week. The next bid we have is the elastometric coating for Superior Court, the dome. We've received one bid from the Alston Company out of Methuen, Massachusetts. They have bid $998,000, which includes alternate number 1, $180,000, and alternate number 2, $60,000, including subtrade from Foley Waterproofing for $75,900. I would suggest to take this under advisement.
Okay, I have a question. Is the paint company that we were dealing with, they're not the bidder, they're just
No, they're the
when we were
supplier of
deciding
the
what paint
product.
to use.
They're just the
Correct.
supplier of the product. This is a different company who would be doing all the work.
And we would get back to the dome again. We would specify the paint we want.
Yes,
Okay,
the second alternate was for the gold.
okay. Before we take this under advisement, any questions from the commissioners?
Very quickly, thank you, Nancy, and through you, Mr. Chairman. Did we ever get the mock-up that we had asked for? So again, we could see the gold and maybe, I thought we had talked about that, maybe seeing, I know we got the chips, I know that, but I thought John had suggested we get a mock-up or something, a model. Did
The
we-
mock-up would happen as the work went along before the application was put on.
Okay,
So the color could be checked to make sure it is the proper color that you'd
okay,
like.
all right, thank you. Want to make sure our dome is that the right color. Okay,
Correct.
all right, good, thank you very much.
I need a motion to take this under advisement.
Oh, so moved, Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, this matter is taken under advisement. Okay,
Thanks, Nance.
that was 13.
Yeah,
We had no 14. We had our 15. We're gonna go to number 16. Fiscal year vacation time carryover. I'm gonna ask Michelle Labadini, our acting director, to bring this up. We've lately been having conversations about this. I don't know that we can accomplish this today, but I'd like to make it a priority and keep it on the agenda till we get it done. Michelle?
Thank you, Chairman. The reason this is on the agenda is because we've gotten a lot of requests from department heads regarding the FY21 vacation time. Employees last year were allowed to carry over an additional 2 weeks on top of their vacation time. And not all employees were able to use all their vacation time this year. So we put it on the agenda with hopes that we would have some agreement on what type of vacation time the employees would be allowed to carry over in FY22. And then we would have the employees submit a letter to the commissioners, those employees that wanted to carry over that time, and have the commissioners approve those letters.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the commissioners have any thoughts on this. I know last year we let them carry over 2 weeks, and last year the state was pretty much shut down. But this year, the state has reopened. So I'm not sure if 1 week would be suitable, because I do believe they are allowed to carry over 10 days as it is. If I am incorrect with that, please feel free to correct me, but that is my understanding.
And this is all employees, correct? Non-union and union?
Yes.
Okay.
isn't this something that's covered in the contract, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, 10 days.
Okay, so they're looking to go beyond that, is that what you're saying? Or
Yes.
exceed it?
There are some employees that have a lot of vacation time left this year, Commissioner, more than 10 days. We're getting close to the end of the fiscal year. And department heads have asked me if there was going to be additional carryover time.
Oh.
And which is why we are discussing it today.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It almost could be a matter of executive session if it gets into contracts though, isn't it? Maybe negotiation or just saying. I mean, it's a thought, but it might be something we may want to talk about.
I wondered about that. In the past, it hadn't been. I know that Director Haggerty spent a lot of time on this 3 or 4 years ago. I know he was here, so, and we reached some agreement at that time. I want to get it done because the time's flying by, and this also has budget implications. And I don't think we can get it done in today, but I mean, we can certainly explore that, but I'm going to carry it on this agenda. And if our Labor Council thinks it's a matter for executive session, we'll probably take her advice. But I wanted to get it on here so we could get started because, it's the first week in April already.
Yeah.
And
Michelle, you sent us
it's
a
up
letter.
every year.
What was is it every person is asking for a certain amount? So is it, you want to have like 5 extra days added or something like that? And it's a one-time deal? Like, can you summarize what that was again? I mean,
Last year, we added every employee was allowed to carry up to 2 weeks, Anything they had in their vacation bank beyond 2 weeks did not carry over until this year.
Okay,
And so I don't know the exact days and employees, what days each employee is looking for. I've only heard from department heads if a decision has been made by the commissioners to carry over any additional time beyond the 10 days that we automatically allow.
so we automatically allow 10 days.
That's correct.
Okay, and we, with the board, last year's commissioners did that last year. That
They
was,
did an additional,
Additional.
did an additional beyond the 10 days.
I see.
How many more days did we give them last year, Michelle? I forgot. Did we do like an additional 10 on that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so you can normally carry 10.
Yeah.
We let them carry an extra 10.
That's correct.
Okay,
And it's through you, Mr.
and
Chairman.
they're asking for the same thing again?
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there is a mechanism in our policies to allow for recourse and petition to an individual can petition to the commissioners for additional carryover if they so choose. So last year we regularized it and said you would hear petitions for up to 10 days. So that's the idea now, is to see if there's an appetite, and then should there be, we can gather the necessary letters and bring them before you as we did last year.
I believe that some non-union members carried additional time. I think that was the decision last year.
Would it be helpful for me as a new commissioner? Could I get a look at just the relevant parts of contracts as far as what each union is allowed to have? That would help me a little bit. I don't know what they're allowed, and it would help if because I to give a blanket extra another 10 on top of another 10, it's like we're looking at 10, 20, 30. You know, I would like to know more information. That's all.
No, I understand. I know last year it was a year's worth of time. So depending on how long the employee was here,
Yeah.
what they were, 1 year's worth of time they were allowed to carry over. But again, that's when the state was completely shut down.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because that was COVID. You know, that
Right.
was,
That's right.
yeah. So that's what I was thinking. I mean, it's kind of
Depending
unusual.
how long you were here, how much time you could carry over.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, again,
Yeah. I think basically, I still think, I want to help our employees out. It's great, but I also think this might be something that could be, you know, negotiable. You're giving extra time for an employee to carry additional time. You know, I just think it's something we may want to just look at. That's all. You know, we don't need a vote today. We need a vote today on this, or is this something that?
No, I just wanted to put it on the agenda, something to think about. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, right now, there is 10 days they can carry over. So
Yeah.
if you think that that's enough, then that's fine. But I just wanted to bring it up to the commissioners because I have heard from department heads and they are looking for some guidance on this. So just wanted to chat about it.
no, I just wanted to get it started, Commissioner. I think we can definitely get that information you're looking for, get it out to all of us, and then I will talk to our Labor Council.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe we did not go into executive session to take care of this last year. I haven't got last year's minutes in front of me, but I do remember it. And I remember 3 or 4 years ago also, when we started talking about this under Director Haggerty. But that might be a good point. And having said that, we want to continue this to a later date. Okay.
Yeah, I would just, if we could get additional info on carryovers and things like that for both labor, for union and non-union, and then we could probably talk about it. That would help me, Mr. Chairman. I think all of us appreciate it.
Okay. If I see no objections, you'll see this on a further calendar, if not next week, as quickly as, you know, we can. We'll try to bring everyone up to speed. Number 17, along the same lines, we're going to stay in the personnel part of it. Return to work timetable. We are getting requests about who, what, when, where we're coming back to work, and I'm going to let Michelle capsulize that for us, and then we'll go to the next item.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As we know, things are opening up around the state. People are allowed to travel. We're in stage 4. movie theaters are opening up, events are opening up, so I would like to see if we could open the county back up to have our staff back 5 days a week. Not necessarily open the doors to the public, but as you see, town halls are opening up, everything's pretty much opening up. And there are things that we need to get done at the county that sometimes are delayed because we don't have staff here. So I was hoping that you would be agreeable to this, and I propose that we open the county back up on Tuesday, April 20th. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that, but that's what I would like to present today.
Thank you, Michelle. Commissioners, any thoughts about return to the timetable to return to work? For employees.
Most towns are returning, as Michelle noted. Although again, in terms of access, it's still very limited. When you want to visit a town hall, you probably know as well. Maybe if we did it at the end of April, the last Tuesday, it might be give a little more time for people to get vaccinated, but I'm fine. Either one is fine. Sounds good.
I'm fine with both. I was curious as to whether we would want to have, we wouldn't mandate the vaccine, but it sure would be helpful if everyone had the vaccine before they came back,
Yeah.
or at least one vaccine.
If you wait, even if we wanted to do the first week of May, but I know as our interim director noted, a lot of things aren't getting done or perhaps could be done faster if we have a full workforce in there. I'm fine with, third week of April, fourth week of April. Just again, it wouldn't be a full opening because again, the public is not usually allowed to go in at this point, but soon they will be. So,
Well, today is the 7th. How about the 19th?
The 19th is a holiday, which is why I proposed the
Right.
20th.
yeah,
Okay, 20th. I'm fine with that. How about you, Dick?
yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I think it's time. That's a good date. People more and more are getting vaccinated, and we're not getting herd immunity is not there yet. But as long as Michelle, we're not fully open to the public, correct? Right? The
Correct.
public will not be.
We are not open
Right.
to the public. The notaries will still be by appointment.
Right.
Most of our staff already had their first shot,
Mhm.
and the second shot for most of the staff will be April 23rd, but our staff also are in their own offices, and they are definitely within 6 feet of each other. So I didn't see that it would pose a problem to bring everyone back.
Good point. That's a good point because many people did take advantage of the vaccine here at the county, correct? Many did.
That's
Of our
correct.
employees.
That's correct.
Let me just think for a second. Are we offering that? Do you know if the program is being offered again for the second shot? at the county?
Absolutely.
What's
April
the date?
23rd.
Is the date April 23rd?
That's the date for the second shot.
So actually, if we think about this and give them 2 days to recover, maybe if we do, Peter, may I respectfully suggest we push it back 1 week. That way, people who have got the shot, they've had the second shot, it again increases the less chance of a problem. Like, what is that? What would that Monday be, Michelle?
April 27th.
26th.
26?
26, yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
I think we'd be on solid ground doing that. I feel that way people who in the county have had a chance for that second shot. It gives us an extra week. I think I'd like to go with that. I feel more comfortable with that.
All right, how do you feel about that, Michelle?
I feel very comfortable with that, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I was gonna say no later than May 1st, April 25th is fine.
Yeah.
The second shot,
Yeah.
very important, and,
Yeah.
I think we're ready to go. I hope we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Give them time to recover. That's what I was thinking. Give them a couple of days. So, yeah, whatever that Monday is, I'd move that, whatever that, I don't have the date in front of me, but is it 25th, 26th, Michelle? I'm sorry.
It's the 26th.
Okay. I'd move that we move forward with that as a date. So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
motion made and seconded to notify all employees that we're going to return to work on a full-time basis, but not be open to the public starting Monday, April 25th or 6th. I don't have a calendar.
26th.
26th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Me
you.
too.
Thank you.
Number 18,
Ah,
approval to move forward with the enhancement of Infinite Infinite Vision software to address the underutilization of the system in accordance with previous management letters. There's a packet here in your agenda item from our vendor, Tyler Technologies, addressed to Michelle, dated yesterday, relative to some upgrades. Michelle, I'm going to have you explain this better than I.
Certainly.
We're going to enter into anyway. And this is part of our presentation from the Abrams Group too, I believe, correct?
Yes, and I have Mark Abrahams on the group, on the call as well to help explain this because he was part of the meeting we had,
Okay.
Infinite Visions, but in accordance with the advisory board and the commissioner's decision to perform the operational analysis and financial control overview,
Bill, how you doing?
we respectfully request $40,450.
Wait, someone else is on there, I think.
Someone else is talking while I'm talking.
Right, yeah,
Can I start over?
yes.
Yes, not over.
In accordance with the advisory boards and the commission's decision to perform the operational analysis and financial control overview, we respectfully request $40,453 for this initiative. We plan to transfer this from the FY21 operating budget, which will impact our carryover. I will be able to update you next week after I've had time to access the budget to see how we can make this happen. This project is in order to take the first step and revising our financial accounting software and our financial procedures. These funds are needed to approve the current use of our system with enhanced training and for an upgrade to the Infinite Visions portal under phase one. Phase one, in your package, you can see there's a setup training on the existing core product with 8 consulting days. And then there's a COA conversion, a quote for 8 support hours, and then a quote for employee access. At this time, we'll need your approval to move forward with this for next week to present to the advisory board for approval. We are currently waiting for the phase 2 pricing to change the current server to the Infinite Vision server and scanning options to the cloud. And then I'm going to turn this over to Mark Abrahams to update you as well. Mark, are you on the call?
I am. Good afternoon, commissioners.
Oh, Mark,
How are you?
good.
Great.
I'm glad to see things are starting to get back to normal. Back in January, we gave you an update, part of which included the financial management and best practice review.
Mr. Chairman, there's some background noise. If someone could just,
Can't see where it's coming from though.
yeah, there's something going on here. I'm having trouble hearing speak. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry
it's
to interrupt.
feedback.
I apologize.
Mark, are you on your cell phone and your computer?
No, I am not.
Okay.
Is that clearer?
What about John McGowan? Are you on your call? Can you?
That seems, when you speak, it's fine. It's just, it was an echo and there was another noise and,
Testing, testing, testing.
There you
How's
go.
that?
Much better.
all right, well,
All right, so I'll just briefly repeat.
okay, thank you.
Back in January and subsequent updates, we spoke to you about the financial management best practice review and the establishment of financial policies. And we pointed out many issues presented in the management letters around the underutilization of the Infinite Vision software and the lack of policies that resulted in several management letter comments. And at that time, we listed several underutilization of the system and mentioned that we would be coming back with an implementation plan. We've worked with Infinite Visions early in our project, who spent 4 days with your staff to understand some of the underutilization problems and come up with some solutions. Just this past week, we had another session with Infinite Visions to solidify these thoughts and to develop a work plan relative to the number of days of training in specific areas and a cost. And the way Infinite Vision works is their implementers, their trainers would come up with the hour estimate and then ship that estimate over to sales to come up with dollar estimates. So phase one of this is going to address some chart of accounts changes over at the Aggie, where Rick Fitzpatrick has a challenge to meet the end of the year reporting requirements of DESI, because his chart of accounts doesn't have the required fields to produce that information. The 8 hours for the chart of accounts training would provide a revised structure for Rick and a new chart of accounts that would address that. And that would be implemented this fiscal year, so he can prepare the end of the report much easier come September of next year. The second piece of this is the portal, where this would allow many of your employees easier access to information, as well as electronically processing a lot of what has been paper-intensive processing. And the third part of their proposal is their implementation and project management assistance. The total of these quotes are $40,453.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
I would add that part two would be coming to you at a later date. That would move the server from the current county server to the cloud server, which would also address many of the systems issues, as well as providing the capability to scan documents rather than have paper-intensive documents. That will be coming to you at a later date.
Let me ask a housekeeping question. When did the county enter into this original contract or agreement?
You mean with Infinite Visions?
Yes,
Over 20 years ago.
okay. And there's still some departments that aren't using it? Is that a question for Michelle or for you, Mark?
I think it's fair to say that when the system was implemented, there was initial training. But that was many, many, many years ago.
Yeah, I knew it was a long time ago, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know it was 20 though. Okay, so we need the updates anyway, upgrades anyway. Is that fair to say?
I think this would enhance your efficiency and effectiveness significantly.
Okay,
And I think it would be consistent with your operational review.
So Chairman, may I add something?
sure.
Regarding the training, Mark, you're correct. Initially, the training was a long time ago, but Michael Mullen had scheduled training this last fall, and every department, someone from every department attended that training. It was 5 days long, and it was well attended by every department.
Good.
So I just
We
want
pay for
to
that
train
training.
everyone on that.
That part of we pay for that, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, it's in the bid.
We paid for it already, yes.
And then it says here there'd be other training when we do the upgrade, right? If this is called an upgrade, I guess it is.
Yes, Mark, I believe we need an upgrade to the current system.
Well, you're going to need, whether it's an upgrade or just additional modules.
Okay,
For example, the portal is an additional module. The budget is additional module. It's not necessarily an upgrade to the system.
okay.
Clearer?
Okay, commissioners, any comments?
Michelle, I think we're asking the commissioners to approve the concept.
That's correct. That's correct.
And then next week, they'll approve the dollars. I'm getting that feedback,
Yes.
including,
I'm getting that interference again. Mark, is it coming from Mark McDonald? It shows me that it's coming from your area. Can you,
He's muted now.
okay. All right, you're muted. All right, go ahead. Thank you.
What I said was, we're asking you to approve the concept today. And then next week, when Michelle comes up with the transfer of fiscal $21 to approve the cost next week.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
through you, simple question. You mentioned the management letter. Was this something that was also cited in our auditor's report, which I remember when I first got sworn in, that was way back. I remember reading that, and was that something you're
Yes.
citing here?
It's on
Okay,
it's been on the last couple of audit
yeah,
reports.
that's what I thought. It was repeatedly cited. Yeah, to me, we need to move forward on it. It's something that the audit has cited, and our consultant's saying we should do it. So, I mean, to me, makes sense to go forward. I
Okay,
would say that.
I agree. I didn't realize it's 20 years ago, but time does fly.
Yeah,
I mean, we're committed to it. I know when a lot of cities and towns went on to a similar program, it was called something else,
yeah,
Unitech or something, everyone back. And, it took a long time to get other municipalities on it, but same issues, old habits die hard and
yeah,
et cetera, but,
right.
Yeah.
So you need a motion of something to,
I would say we need a motion
on
to
this?
move forward with, because
Yeah.
we're going to stay with enhanced visions,
Yeah,
infinite visions, I mean.
Yes, we need a motion.
all right. I would move that to support the directive from the interim county director and the report of the Abram consultant to move forward in this project as outlined. How's that?
Second.
Thank you. Motion made and second. Any further discussion on the moving forward with the enhancement of the infinite vision software to address underutilization in accordance with previous management letters?
Right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Okay,
All right.
commissioners, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items, 6 more items, but it is 2:00 and we're going to have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee. I'd like to turn it over to the Finance Committee and open it and then go back to, if the Finance Committee doesn't mind, and it's very important that they listen to item number 19, which is a commissioner's vote of the budget to send it to the advisory committee and then go back into the joint meeting with the advisory committee. And at that point, we're going to get another update from Mark overall, and then we're going to have a little budget discussion, or they're going to have a budget discussion. So if I have no objection, I'd like to pass number 19 for now and go to number 20 and turn it over briefly to Chairman. I don't know if it's Joe or Paul Connors. Is Joe Reardon on?
Go on.
Okay, do you want to open your meeting and join it with us, and then I'll take a motion, entertain a motion to go back to number 19, which is back to our meeting, if you don't mind.
Okay, no, I'd be happy to. So call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee of the Norfolk County Advisory Board. Mr. Baldoff has already,
I'm having trouble
Well,
hearing you,
I'm
Joe.
getting this echo. I have an echo on my end here.
echo. Now, let me try. Stand by. It's too loud. Is that any better, Dick?
No, it's still,
I can understand you, Joe, but it says echo or something. I don't know what it is, but
All right, stand by.
technical difficulties today.
Technical difficulty. Let me try this.
How's that?
that's
Better.
better.
There we go.
He took his earplugs out.
There you go. Perfect.
Thank you, Joe.
All right.
No?
I see Eric is here. I can't tell.
Afternoon, all.
Hi, Eric.
Tom Polito is here.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think we need a third.
There we go. How's that?
There you go.
Right, that sounds good.
All right, playing around with the stuff here.
Yeah.
Okay, call to order the Finance Committee meeting, Norfolk County Advisory Board. Mr. Baldoff will not be present. I cannot see what other members are present, but I will call the roll. Dr. Childs, are you present?
No?
Mr. Connors?
Uh-oh.
No. Mr. Beckerman, I saw
Here.
you somewhere, Eric.
Present.
And Ms. Frigiletti? Amy, are you on?
Ooh. Tough day.
Hmm.
It's too nice out.
I will hope that they come on because as of present, we do not have a quorum, but I anticipate that we will have a quorum in order to vote a little bit later. So I would defer back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Since you don't have a quorum, we're going to go back to item number 19.
Oh,
Commissioners, and then we'll go back with the joint meeting after this. Item number 19 is the commissioners vote on the fiscal year 2022 budget. I have supplied everyone with, I call it the latest and greatest budget, this document, which I equate with tilling your back garden. It changes, unfortunately, day to day, but that's the way it is. And we're doing the very best. And we have what we think is our last and best product prior to sending it to the advisory board for their due diligence, which is all properly posted, starts today and then goes from there over the next 5 or 6 weeks. And hopefully we'll get this accomplished in a timely manner. I want to ask commissioners if they have any comment, if they've had time to look at it. I believe the latest version is version number, well, it might be 4 or 5, but as I said previously, it's our best product, and it's the one that we're going to run with. And past practice, which I'm trying to, isn't always the best practice, but we've had this happen before, and we're pretty happy at the time schedule that we're pretty much trying to keep to, and I hope we can continue to do it. However, having said that, I'm open to any discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, that's Commissioner Stady.
So I'm going to ask your forgiveness as I read sort of something I've been working on and giving a lot of thought to. And I want to commend everybody who has worked on this budget. I know it's not an easy thing to do. I have experience, obviously, in working on it as an advisory board member and other elected positions. And I know when you make a budget and when it comes to cutting, it is never, ever an easy thing. But I also think that when you are elected, you have to make decisions. Sometimes they're pleasant, sometimes they're not. I know that my criteria, at least what I'd like to bring to us as a group, is that we should be looking at safety first and recreation second. So I'm referencing a letter received from our director, Mr. McGowan, dated 4/1/21. In that letter, he explains that he had removed a position. Now I'm going to use approximate numbers, but the position was in the amount of $80,000 to create 2 positions of roughly $40,000. So in essence, what he had done with his budget was level funded it. He did not increase it. He did increase the number of people, if you will, but he had level funded it. I know as a new member, I am new, I recognize that, but over the past several months, except for today, on a consistent basis, we have heard how hard this department is working in keeping our courts safe and clean, both for the people who work there and those who have to visit. Certainly during this pandemic, they have done an outstanding job, and they've been very responsible and responsive almost on a weekly basis. So to us, and to me at least, I say respectfully, to reduce his budget or reduce the number of people is somewhat irresponsible. Instead, I think we should be looking at other areas. And to that end, I would respectfully offer the following. I know I'm following the practice that most towns have. If you make an increase in the budget, you've got to come up with a corresponding decrease. So I would respectfully move the following as a suggestion for our starting point. I would move that, I believe it is line item or number 9-3 custodian in the amount of $42,135.84 be restored. Because I have on my latest version, it was empty. Again, I know things change, but it looked on the version I have that was not going to be approved. Subsequently, in conjunction with that, I would move that we reduce budget 200 Wollaston Facility Code 110 temporary salaries by the amount of $42,135.84. So the budget numbers would be the same. What I'm saying is, for safety, in terms of being responsible, we should be giving maintenance as much help as they can, because our primary job is the courts. And if we have to cut, I don't want to say it's an easy cut, but we look at recreation, which has the ability to offset itself sometimes through other kind of fees. Again, my rationale is basically based upon safety and essential people. Furthermore, there is a chance, again, with the American Rescue Plan, that some of that money might perhaps be reimbursable if it's deemed essential. No one has an answer on that. And as you pointed out to me politely, and Commissioner Collins did as well, you can't act on money that we don't have. And I agree. So we can't act on what we might have or could have. We can only act on what we have right now. But I think we should be looking at maintenance more carefully in terms of the job they do. Restore that position as our director has requested, and cut from Wollaston. Now, of course, if you want to cut other areas, I certainly will be looking at that. But I thought the simplest solution was in terms of temporary salaries, not permanent. And so I would therefore make that suggestion as one of my first points on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for listening.
Okay, I received the letter, you did too, and I also found in my packet from last year, John had alluded to the commissioners in 2020. And I discussed it with John earlier in the budget cycle, and I told him that I would support it, which would eliminate a night roving maintenance foreman and increase the union position of building custodian, not senior, custodian, by 2.
Yes.
I agree with the concept. I thought we couldn't increase it by 2 because when I looked at the budget, I saw that the present position that we're talking about eliminating or considering eliminating was 77,000. And then with the cost of living raise, it's going to go to 79,465 on July 1st. 2 custodians is 94,000. And I thought, well, that's a $15,000 increase.
I think it would be 84, Mr. Chairman, respectfully. 42 times 2 is 84, I believe. That's what I have.
Well, I'm looking at the same page you're quoting from, and the custodian is 47,522 as of July 1st.
Oh, darn it. Okay. I had looked
However,
at.
I got a solution, but go ahead. Michelle, you can weigh in on this, and if John,
I'm not trying to be argumentative, Joe.
I'm not going to argue.
Okay.
These numbers are small, but I thought it was 42. So, I may have to stand corrected, but.
So Commissioner Stady, one is a senior building position and one is a custodian building. So they're 2 different positions.
Yes. Yep.
So we're presenting today a balanced FY22 budget to you for your vote today.
Yes.
With the request from the superintendent of buildings, we eliminated the night supervisor position from the FY22 budget.
Right.
With the senior budget custodian position.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan requested 2 positions in place of the night supervisor position, but due to funding, we are only able to fund 1 position at this time.
Yes.
I understand your suggestion with regards to Wollaston, but the temporary salary line at the golf course, that's the only way the Wollaston golf course operates. The budget is on track to be spent this year. So I'm concerned with removing from that line item because it's just that part of our business by temporary employees. And a year ago, we brought over the pro shop. So some of the temp salaries are pro shop employees as well. So that would be my concern.
I can appreciate that. And again, I'm being respectful. I'm just saying, I may have the numbers wrong. So, Mr. Chairman, I apologize because I might have read the numbers wrong.
Oh, I got a question. Is John on the line?
Is John here? McGowan? No.
Under his pending custodian position,
Right.
he does list it 1 empty position.
Yeah.
I am unmuted right now.
There you are. Okay, John. Hi, John. Yeah.
Oh, no.
John, if a custodian came today, a custodian, and started tomorrow. does
He wouldn't start off at, we have it down as a, I think it's, I wish Sheila was be able to get into this, but you have it's a 12-3 and a 9-3.
I see the
They
9-3.
start at
That's correct.
different rates.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe it will be, this will be the rate. I don't believe this will be it, but, the rate is there's two different rates here. There's a 9-3 that you start at, and like I said, a 12-3 is a senior building custodian.
Mhm.
And, I'd have to check with Sheila on the exact figures, but, I mean, we still have time to check on it, right?
Yeah, well,
Yes, I mean,
And if you want it down to the exact amount of,
well, I'm considering. I don't want to make it up out of the recreation facility either. However, if I knew exactly explanation of, if there's a pending custodian position at a 9-3, that is 42,000, Commissioner Stady.
yes, okay, that is right.
Hire two people to take the eliminated positions money. Are you going to end up with 3 new custodians, John?
no,
2.
No,
two.
Then why not we only adding 1 and this pending is the second?
that's my question. Mr.
I don't know. I'm not doing it. You are.
That's my
We
question.
don't have the funding.
But okay,
Well,
I'm
if I'm eliminating one position at 80-something thousand,
79,460.
I'm increasing, 2 positions that don't amount to that, right? Or am
Well,
I wrong?
They're
which-
and they're $4,000 over.
okay, we're 4,000.
Oh,
Okay,
We're
all right.
4,000 off.
Okay, so I see, it's a 12-3 and a 9-3. Okay,
If I'm
all
going down the wrong path here, Michelle, not in the overall issue, in the numbers tell me.
okay. So it's about 4,000. All right. So I'd have to adjust my motion, Mr. Chairman. I was looking at him as 2 of the same. I was wrong. But my point was just basically, in terms of what Mr. McGowan did, he eliminated a higher position, shall I say, and was trying to get 2 people out of that and, for similar amounts. Perhaps he's over 4,000 or 5,000. But in terms of where the money would come from, I thought I had to target that. So I looked at that as a possible.
can I interrupt? Can I, respectfully interrupt?
We're trying to work this out.
Why don't we, I'll eliminate the 12-3 and bring in 2 9-3s. Instead of a senior building custodian, we'll bring in 2 custodians. That'd be at the 42 rate.
And that would be a level funded in terms of your budget, right?
That's what I think. I will agree to that.
Okay,
I want to take the money out of, keep it in maintenance and get another 5,000 out of another line.
okay.
Whether it's, I'm looking.
But John, what does that do to your department? Are you all right with that? I mean, I just,
Well,
Yeah,
I gotta ask
it's better than not having one at all.
okay, I'm just trying to help, that, so.
I'm looking for bodies to,
Right.
to wipe courthouses down because I
understand.
know I know that if the courts do open and,
Yeah,
as the system I have in now at 10 and 2,
yeah,
I need, district court, he doesn't allow anybody in there. And, all I have to worry about right now is just the 2 buildings, but, and if they open, I'm definitely gonna need some more guys on days.
I agree. Okay, I'm fine with that. If you want to eliminate the 12-3 and have 2.
Yeah, that's no problem with me. I can just drop it down to custodians. I can work without that.
So
I'll
that,
work around it.
yeah, but
Joe,
okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Joe, can I jump in?
Absolutely, Commissioner.
Okay, so, Joe, you were on board when we started this, when we had the 3rd night supervisor. And it was kind of a hard fought battle to get that 3rd night supervisor. So, Dick, what we have John McGowan during the days, John Vignoni at night, and we needed a second night supervisor. And there was a bunch of different reasons for it, but one of the reasons was if John McGowan was going to use up all his time, which is accruing, and John Vignoni was going to use up all his time that was accruing, we were short. And so we hired this individual to come in. He's done a nice job. No one has any problem with him. And I understand where John's coming from because he needs the bodies to do this. And the bigger picture is, I know, and I'm sure you've heard this, Dick, already, but I'll say it anyway.
Sure.
So anything that we spend in the courthouses, we eventually get that money back.
Right.
Michelle, what's the timeline on that? I thought it was about a year plus.
I think around 18 months.
Yeah, so I thought something like that. So any money we spend on the night supervisor or the day custodians and all, it all comes back to us. But the bigger problem is we have to float it for a year and a half before we get the dough back. And I understand, just as everyone has said today, that a budget's a compromise and you're trying to make things work. But I feel bad for the night custodian because he's become a line item in the budget, and he's a person. And I feel bad. You know, I understand the need to have this other part work, but now who's going to be spelling our supervisors so they can take their time? And
I have senior building custodians at night that function the same way as the night supervisor. And I have them during the day too.
Okay, so they can do the same thing as the night supervisor for you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well,
I have roving utility guys that I instruct them to be in charge of something. That's what they do. And it's always, as always, it's up to you guys what you want to do.
Well, it all comes down to money. So
I know.
And so I get it. I get the struggle of trying to do all these things, but I did want to speak up as to what we were doing and how this is going to impact the person that, you know, we brought on to really help us. And through no fault of his own, his job may be cut because of a line item.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, Peter. I do. I thank you for pointing that out. But I think in terms of the process, trying to support a department head who has made his recommendation, right or wrong, good or bad, he's the person doing it. And he is saying that for whatever reason, he can do without this person and would rather have more bodies to deal with this pandemic, which, you know, isn't over. I know we're all getting vaccinated and we're soon going to be opening up, but there's rumors of a second wave and who knows, there's a mutation. And, you know, I think it's just important that we keep our courts clean and safe, especially if we start to transcend back in. So, you know, if there's a way to do it, I'm for it. I know the numbers might have been off a little bit. I would take the chairman's suggestion that we go with the 293s, but then the bigger picture is still, I think we still got to make up about 40,000, I think, somewhere else in the budget, because as presented, it wasn't in there. Is that right, Michelle? I mean, that wasn't in there, the
That's right.
40,000. So
So we're still short 40,000.
Right.
Even if we fund those two positions, we eliminate the night position.
yes,
We bring in these two positions, we're still 40 short.
right.
And I want to agree with Michelle. You take the 40 grand out of the golf course temporary salaries, you're decimating that place.
Okay.
Those are the people that are cutting the grass. They're doing all the work around the place. They're in the pro shop. You're gonna have to find. Maybe you could cut it a little bit, but you can't cut it 40 grand. You're gonna have to cut other places.
Right. And this is why we have discussions. I appreciate that. So maybe we make 10,000 there and we've got to find the other 30 somewhere else. Maybe there's some other places we can, you know, take a look at. But
Can I interrupt? I don't understand what, I thought I figured this out properly. That position that he's in is 80,000. And that two position, I'm going to eliminate the senior building custodian and make it a custodian's position. So there'll be two custodian positions at 9.3 is 42.
That's
It
what
turns out to be 80.
That's what I'm under the impression.
So
Your math is, John, your math is right, but our budget's short.
what happened was,
Is that right, Michelle?
if I
That's
may,
correct.
I think when you were making up the budget, whoever was doing this, in fairness, I think what happened was they cut that request, John, I'm talking to John or the board. So you cut out the senior person and then you put in a 12.3 and they did not fund, at least I'm reading it right, the 9.3. It wasn't funded. It's open. And then the rest of the budget was formulated based on that. For us to put in the 9.3 back, even though it level funds your budget, we need to identify, I think, properly $40,000. So that's why I said.
Well,
that's
all right, then why
recreation.
don't we just eliminate that position and we'll just go with the one, if that's what you want to do?
Well,
Because,
don't give up so easily. What do you think?
well,
I'm
you know, I don't want to have a big argument, so, trying to figure this thing out. I mean,
this is.
to my way of thinking was eliminate that because it's not needed.
Well,
I don't need, I got enough bosses at night. And in fact, I have enough bosses during the day. But I don't really have to have that night foreman's position.
okay.
I didn't ask for it. It was put on me by Director Haggerty,
Okay. Well.
and I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't requesting it,
Okay.
and I don't know where that came from, but he showed up, and that was it. I mean, I don't have no say in that.
There was a person in this job prior to this gentleman. And I
No.
am with this, but he isn't the first. We had a
No.
person promoted to that job that was a long time employee. I don't know how many years, and I do know his name, but that's.
Oh,
And he,
that was eliminated because he retired, and I didn't reinstate it. I didn't put it in there, and it was put in later on, the following year, I believe.
John, through you, Mr. Chairman, through you.
go ahead.
Could I ask a couple of more questions then? So I'll make sure I've got this straight. The senior person, the senior night custodian, the salary I had was 81,000 and change, 82,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Or is it higher? What was that position? Forget the person. What was the position supposed to be funded at? 82,000? 84,000?
$81,980.
Okay,
and 12
correct.
cents.
All right. And so in our draft budget, we're eliminating that, right? We're eliminating that. And somebody put in, approved 12-3. And to me, again, it means in your budget, as your budget's presented, there should be extra money for somebody. Instead, I think that money was applied elsewhere to make our budget come out even. And all I'm saying is your budget, you're owed some money. You're owed something, maybe a part-time person, something to help in this corona pandemic that we've got. And if we have to cut a place, which is not easy, I understand that. But, most towns put an emphasis on police, fire, public works, education. Recreation gets a short stick. I like the golf. I like to play tennis. I like sports. You know that. But I mean, in terms of your priorities, you got to look at what's essential. Our courts are essential. We need to keep them clean and safe. Recreation, these are the tough times we're at. And maybe with the American Rescue Plan, we could put that money back. Again, I know it's speculation. But to me, I think we cut some of that, cut something. They're temporary people, temporary employees. So we have to be a little creative. Maybe, look at our fee schedule. Come back with a higher user fee. Want to play golf? You pay more money. That's the nuts and bolts of that. And then you look at some other areas. But I think John and maintenance should get a little extra help. That's all I'm trying to say here today. Thank you.
Okay. I agree. I want the department head to run the department. I agree with eliminating the night roving foreman. I know it's hard. I feel the same way as everyone here. It's a risk, but it's hard. But if he needs the tools, I still think, and again, I don't want to hold everyone up, but if you're taking 81,980 out of one line and you're adding two people at 9.3, which is 42,000, Commissioner, 135, I think we're only off $4,000. Now tell me if I'm wrong.
You're
would
already
agree.
short 40, Joe.
Huh?
But you're short 40 elsewhere.
You would have been, Mr. Chairman. You would have been if whoever, again, I don't know. Somebody might have been Mike Mullen was helping or somebody, but when you took the 12-3, the senior person out, and you cut that position, what should have happened was the maintenance budget should have had two positions funded, and it would have been maybe over 3,000 or 4,000. But they didn't fund the 9.3. Okay, They didn't. It's left empty. It's empty. It's just not funded. And then the
You might
rest of
have 40,000, but I don't have it.
right, that money was used, obviously, to balance our budget, to make our budget, because we had a variance, and Michelle pointed that out to us. We had a variance. By the way, this is not meant to be disrespectful. Believe me, I'm trying to be constructive here. I mean, whatever was done with the right intention of balancing our budget. But I'm saying I want to kind of undo that a little bit. And I'm having trouble finding support or ideas where we can make up that 40,000. We need to make up that lump there. It's not 4, it's about 40. So maybe we need to look at other places in our budget that have to be reduced, or, you know.
Okay. That's why I wanted to just only add one new position, one new level entry custodian because of the discrepancy in the money. But now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If it's 40, then it's 40. I thought it was, by only doing one, we were actually gaining a little money. And if we were going to take some money from someone else or somewhere else,
Yeah.
I'd like to keep it within the maintenance budget, but
Okay.
I can't see anything here. And I don't want to drag this on. If it needs further time, we're going to have to ask the advisory board if we can hold this one budget for a week and work it out. But John, do you know off the top of your head where you are this year in overtime? There's 103,000, which we're going to fund again. But how much overtime have you used the first 9 months of this year?
I don't know right now, but we always give money back. We have money in snow budget that you'll be getting back. I don't know how much, but
Now you're talking, John.
we didn't use a lot, but in overtime money, I can't figure that out right now. I wouldn't know right now.
Do you think you can come up with 40 grand to bring back, John?
Well, let me, well, I have a week to look at it, right?
Well, I'd like to resolve it today, but if you can, I mean, if you can look at snow and look at overtime, we
If
approve.
I can ask Jill to look at it, maybe she can let me know.
All right, let me, and then I'll,
I think it's less than 50,000. So I don't know how much less than 50,000. That's
mean,
left in the overtime.
we approved 150,000 and we're going to approve 150,000 for next year. I know it's all subject to the whim, but we only spent 68,000 last year. Good work. In 2020, I should say. And in 19, we spent 113,000. Now, I know with my luck, it'll probably start snowing at Thanksgiving and snow all next year. But between the two lines, if we could make up 40,000, I don't want to go to another department. I don't want to rob from Peter to pay Paul, but I know if we have to, we will. But
Okay.
I misunderstood it. I only thought it was a $4,000 discrepancy. I still want to only go with one, but I don't disagree.
I wish it. Could we direct John to take a look at his budget and come back with some suggestions to, maybe?
Well, as long as Chairman Reardon knows there might be a red flag in the budget as of now,
I didn't know how to.
Yeah, so.
we'll clear it up one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay, I would take that as a yes.
Yeah.
I heard a couple of voices, and I was like, trying to sort it out.
Okay,
About 75,000.
I think
so I
John's,
have a motion to continue this to 1 week and not another day, and then we'll hold this page.
yeah.
And,
I'd move that.
pending, if we take a vote, well, we're gonna take a vote pending any changes we make.
Right.
Commissioner, can I make I have about 70 to 75,000 in snow removal left over that you'll be receiving back.
Why don't we apply that to the second position?
That's
Can we do that?
totally up to you. I mean, I could give you a better answer. I'm just saying that I do have the money to give back,
So,
And if
We
you want to take that
right,
for
but
funding that position, that'd be fine with me.
you'd have to vote to, or amend your budget to decrease your snow removal. Am I hearing you right? By 42,000 to fund
No,
that?
no, no, that's next year's budget, Dick.
Go ahead.
This past year, he's gonna be giving us some extra money back, so we could take it from the past year to roll over into it, and to roll it over into the second position.
How do you do that? How does that happen?
We would cut the snow budget by 42,000.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Two
No,
level
I
heads
just
for
said that.
custodians and
Okay.
eliminate the
Right.
night building supervisors. job.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna
That
cut the
sound right,
budget.
John?
Yeah,
Chairman,
Go ahead, Michelle.
would it be okay if I asked Michael Mullen to speak? Because he really worked on this budget and he may be able to answer some of your questions that I'm not able to answer at this moment.
I don't want you to ask him now, but.
He's on the call.
Huh?
No, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd forgotten about Michael Mullen. Let me see. I forgot about,
who's
Okay.
that?
okay.
So,
Michael Mullen, he can answer some
All
of
right, all right. If
the budget.
so, see, I'll try to provide a little bit of clarity here. So yes, to Commissioner Stady's point, so in terms of what was proposed by the department head to get where we were, based on available revenues and where our expenditures were going, and how they were being projected and are being projected to go into FY '22, we had to frankly adjust John McGowan's proposal to only backfill his proposal with one of the custodians rather than two. That was approximately in the area of a $42,000 savings. So what you're right, Commissioner Stady, we did use to balance other areas of the budget. So how the maintenance budget is offset is almost irrelevant when you put the maintenance budget in with the larger budget and then need to come to a break-even bottom line. So that is how that happened. One of the things, and I understand the desire, if possible, to try to get to a place where the county could fund those two positions. So I think, as Michelle had mentioned, going after or looking at the temporary salaries in the golf course, in my humble opinion, would not work at all. The golf course has been utilizing basically all 225,000 this year. They're going to be extremely close to utilizing that whole line item, which is why they proposed an additional 10, because they're coming that close to utilizing the whole temporary salary line, and they know that their work is increasing, especially with COVID as well. So, I do think the way to go is looking at basically redistributing funds in the maintenance budget. But what I will caution you on is what you're talking about now. So in terms of offsetting this year's spending, the funds that we have good reason to believe won't be expended this year, they should be separate and apart from how we move forward into next year. So because if we were to utilize them at this point, all we would be doing is really continuing to exacerbate the issue we've been trying to correct, which is basically decreasing our reliance on the unappropriated, on the prior year's unappropriated balance. If we were to use that extra $50,000 or whatever it is, either the snow budget or the overtime line, for example, what we'd basically have to do is we'd have to increase the $500,000 in the use of prior years unappropriated, to reflect that. That has been a big issue we've been trying to address with the Abrahams Group, because that is the best example of a structural deficit there ever was. What I would recommend, based on that reasoning, So as if you were to make cuts and redistribute, what I would look at, like as options, like would be decreasing the maintenance department overtime budget to where the trends might be in this year. So if we're only going to spend, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but $70,000 this year, maybe we decrease that. So if we're on target, I should say, to only spend 70 grand this year, maybe we reduce that to a $70,000 appropriation for next year. And then if we have an issue, we go for a supplemental appropriation. That would be the way I would try to go, rather than further contributing to the structural deficit that we're trying to solve, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does a lot. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I'm totally, I understand totally where you're going, Mike. And as I said, I was thinking a little bit outside the box, Mr. Chairman. I think that the deficit in terms of the budget, if we put that position straight in, is 40, not 4,000. Now, whether it's fair or not to John, the department, I understand what he was trying to do. I do. I get it. But, and I don't like it. I really feel that we should be emphasizing now people to help keep the courts clean. So, you know, I think maybe the best thing to do is maybe rather than rush through it, have John as a department head, look at his budget and come back next week based on what Mike has said and Michelle and others, and make some suggestions as to how to redistribute, as you said, and create that. If he wants that second position, you know, something. I think that might be the right way to go.
I can totally respect what's going on here, but if that's going to be a problem, if you want to vote, I can eliminate that position. I'll go by what the budget is right now, and I'll live with what I got. I've always done that.
Okay, well.
So let's just stop this before we keep going here. I'll go with your suggestion, not fill in that position, and fill in the other one.
And adding.
And that's fine with me.
Filling one of the other ones.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I'll make do with what I have. I always have.
And John, if you do need that other position, if you could just find another way to pay for it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I could hit the lottery.
Hey.
But I'll live with what I have, and we'll go. I'll work with it. That's all.
Okay.
So I don't want to, cause any problems here with trying to fill that one position. So we'll eliminate it. I'm a team player.
Thank you, John. All right. Having said that, on number 19, do we have other budget items before we go back to the Finance Committee that we want to talk about? Or do you want to go back to the Finance Committee, listen to the Abrahams Group, and then go back to these discussions? Since I see that the Finance Committee does have, I believe, I see Amy, I think they have a quorum, so.
Joe, I'm on the phone. Joe, I'm on the phones. Paul.
We really have a quorum.
Sure.
I've been on the phone. I've been on the phone since 6:30 started talking about 45 minutes ago about the positions.
There's more to come. Let's get the advisory board.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you, Dick.
All right. Well, thank you, boss. That's a rarity. I'm in trouble now. I'm in big trouble.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Having said that, let's
You're
go
a
to number
golfer.
20.
Don't get used to it.
Oh, boy.
Don't get used to it.
I won't.
We're going to go back to Chairman Reardon, Chairman of the Advisory Board Finance Committee, and open his meeting, and then we'll go right to the Abrams Group, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
No, well, our meeting, I'm just going to open it up for
Sure.
questions before we move forward, but in light of the new information from Commissioner Stady and the second look at the maintenance budget, I just want to open up to the members to see if they have any questions about the budget.
Chairman?
Yes, Eric.
I was listening to that whole conversation, and actually, I have some questions about the budget, but the questions I have may actually be the solution to what we're looking for in this maintenance budget. I have a few lines. I've got 7 different lines that there are increases in the budget that just by level funding those 7 lines, you could come up with $34,000.
Oh,
And some of those lines, in my opinion, are lines that really should be moved out of the budget into capital, meaning like computer hardware lines and things like that. So this, all I'm talking about is the increases that were requested this year. If we would actually eliminate some of those budget lines and put them in the capital, you could actually come up with a lot more than that. So that's an idea I have. I can give you the line number. I mean, I can go through the items if you want me to. That's
sure.
purely
I'd love-
up to you.
Yeah. Can we hear that, Mr. Chairman? Which
Sure.
chairman? Chairman Reardon, the chairman? Yeah,
Yep, no, absolutely.
yeah.
All right, so I mean, I'll go through the items that I'm talking about. For example, in the IT department, there is a line, the line number is 5276.05. The fiscal 21 approved was 8,000. The requested is 14,000. So again, there's a $6,000 increase right there that I don't know what that's for. However, computer hardware, in my opinion, is a capital expense. I don't know why a computer hardware would be a year over year operating budget line. So that's the first one I have. The second one I have is also in the IT budget. There's a line 5463.05. Says new computer system. It was funded at 3,000 last year. It's being requested at 10,000 this year. Again, that's another 7,000 in just the increase, but again, that's a new computer system, which to me is a capital expense, not an operating budget item. And I respectfully make these because I'm new to this, so I don't know why the computer hardware lines are in the budget anyway. The other one I have is under the treasurer's department, line 5422, news and periodicals. The approved for fiscal 21 was $500. The request is $5,000, so it's a tenfold. That's a $4,500 increase that I'd be curious to know why that line is going up that high. The expended for fiscal 20 right now is under $1,000, so it seems odd that we're going to 5,000 unless there's something coming up in the next year that I'm unaware of or that we're unaware of. Moving on to
What line, wait, what line was that, Eric? Can I ask you, please?
yeah, that was
422?
that was 5422.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
The next one I have, sorry, give me a second. I'm just scrolling through the budget. Next one I have is in, what department is this? Hold on. I believe this is engineering. No, facilities maintenance. I believe, give me a second. Under group 5 equipment, line 5501. There's an $8,000. Oh, I'm sorry. This 8,000 was zeroed out by the commissioners. I apologize. That 8,000 does not apply.
Oh, yeah.
The next one I have is under contractual services, line 5219.02. Miscellaneous communication services. I'm not exactly sure what that is under engineering. It's going from 5,500 to 8,000. So that's another 2,500. In the same, in the same in engineering, there's another computer hardware line that's going from 15,000 to 20,000, and that's line number 5276. That's a $5,000 increase. And the last one I have is under civil surveying law books. It's going from 1,000 to 2,000, but the current expended is only 491.69. That's another 1,000. So if I take that 8,000 off, we're down to that's 26,000 just in the increases. If you were to take the computer hardware lines out completely and make them capital, you'd be looking at well over your 40,000. Those are the only questions I had overall on the budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So you're suggesting that as a possible way to offset the 40,000 if we wanted to go with the 2 custodians.
Exactly. This way we don't have to cut any positions.
Yeah.
And we're cutting expenses as opposed to people. Now, granted, I assume that if the current budget has the two positions in it, then the benefits and other employment benefits are already included in the budget anyway. So there wouldn't be any additional increase outside of offsetting the salary for that one person.
Thank you.
I'm doing this every day, driving like this in this traffic.
Chairman, do you mind if we ask Michael Mullins since he's on this budget and made a lot of those decisions, if he could speak to this?
Yes, and first, Mr. Connors, you are traveling in traffic apparently because we can.
I am on the expressway, Mr. Rin. I just took my granddaughter to get her shot for COVID at the Heinz, so that's why I'm not with you.
Beautiful.
Excellent. One of the things that I recall is that capital items have a certain dollar threshold for consideration, and I don't know, to your point, Acting Director, you know, what more information we could get. So I don't know, is Mr. Mullins still on the call?
He is.
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I don't know if you could kind of share that and the rationale behind some of this.
So yeah, and this is, so I mean, and the question that Mr. Beckerman brought up is a good question, and it's a question we really tried and really continued to work with the Abrahams group and actually addressing. And I think as we go forward, especially in the financial policies, you know, that decision is really going to, I think, come to fruition. But in terms of balancing this budget, I would, you know, I mean, I would respectfully say that the reason why, you know, the IT budget, and I understand how we're trying to get to roughly 40,000, but in the IT budget, how it's becoming a focus. So it's because that's a relatively small budget to begin with. So like in anything more, so like anything more that we're proposing to do operationally than we're doing now will stick out like a sore thumb. I would also argue there are other budgets in other departments, like for IT, technology, computer service, what have you, that are much larger. Oh, and they routinely buy very similar things, if not way more things, in those budgets, which arguably should be capital. But I mean, I would respectfully say that I think one of the reasons these are becoming, like, I guess, flashpoints, if you will, is because those budgets are proportionally smaller than the other larger budgets with just bigger appropriations where, you know, these type of expenses are way more easily to be baked in. So I say that because mid-year this year, we had about a $7,000 cost to redo our shared phone system, which obviously for that budget was something big to absorb. But I mentioned shared, there was another budget that we shared, there was another department which we share our phone lines with, and that 7,000 proportionally for that budget, that was very easily dealt with, and that line item wasn't stressed or overextended or anything else. But the point I want to raise in terms of, you know, what is considered capital and what's not considered capital based on, I think, the upcoming presentation from the Abrahams group. So is usually the best practices, so especially in identifying capital assets. So is that number, that definition, that threshold for a capital asset usually starts at around $15,000. So anything more that we knew in this budget, generally speaking, that was going to cost more than $15,000, like immediately we sent it to capital, you know, in that process. So like, I mean, the $3,000 we're talking, I mean, are really, you know, the replacement of computers, and different types of technology. that should happen on an ongoing and continuing basis anyways. So that's why to leave it to, so if we have them and we can manage that in our operational budget, I thought it might, so I thought it might make more sense to do that. That's just my opinion. So, and then anything over and above the $15,000 threshold would then be completely dedicated to capital. Like again, that was just my thought process in terms of how we were approaching these conversations with the Abrahams Group in advance of this budget process. But I would be, those are just my thoughts. And obviously, if the FinCom or the commissioners think differently, that is fine too. But I just wanted to explain that rationale anyways.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Do the Finance Committee members have other questions? Go ahead, Eric.
No, I'm all set.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw your hand. I'm paying attention. That's a good thing. Dr. Childs, Ms. Frigiletti, Mr. Connors, anybody?
I'm all set.
Beth?
I'm all set too.
Amy?
I'm all set.
All right. Thank you, Eric, for your input. I mean, that's thinking outside the box is huge. Mr. Chair, in terms of a combined meeting, I think that's where we would stand now until we go through the presentation from Mr. Abrahams.
Hey, I just have one comment. I don't want to open. Eric's points are well taken, and I do remember what the reason was on the treasurer's. There was an explanation from the treasurer. There was some explanations from Mark McDonald, but I think Mike handled them. But this doesn't preclude this from this can come up in your discussions.
Right.
I mean, it's clear that the advisory board could,
Yeah,
add or delete, et cetera, et cetera.
right.
So it isn't that we could invite these department heads here after we hear Mark, when you have your public hearing or when you have your next meeting.
Yep.
If we wanted to further explain these points that Eric has brought up.
Well, Eric, Mr. Chairman, again, through you very quickly, I thank Eric and the FinCom, of course, the chairman and all the members for looking at the budget. I know how hard it is to do being there. And Eric, for identifying possible ways to make up the shortfall, I truly appreciate. So I think we're not done. I know John McCowan was waving the white flag there, but I wish he didn't do it so fast. There might be a way, if you have to cut a little here, maybe my solution was too simplistic and perhaps not, let's say, the right way to go. It was a try, it's a start. But if you have to cut a little here and there to get back again a position that we need for the courts, I can't emphasize it enough. I think it's important that we do that. So, Eric, could I ask you to maybe send an email with some of that information to the county director and have it shared by us so we can incorporate some of that? Some can't be used, but some of it could be, and that might help us to get where we want to go.
Absolutely. You'll have it first thing by first thing tomorrow morning.
All right, is that all right, Mr. Reardon? Would you allow that? That's fine?
Absolutely. That's what we're here for, to help the county.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, are we ready to go to Mark Abraham?
Please do, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mark, I know you've been on for a while, but you're getting a better feel for Norfolk County. Where are you?
Excuse me for 1 minute. Mr. Schaefer, 1 minute.
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Yeah. I may have to cut out on the Abrams Group, and I'll try to come back in afterwards.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark Abraham, please.
Safe, Paul. Be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello again, commissioners, and hello, Finance Committee. We're going to present to you the capital plan. If you remember, we've been engaged to do several things for the operational review. One was to develop a capital plan, which is believed to be the first capital plan of Norfolk County. The plan is basically a capital improvement plan that lays out over a 10-year period capital requests and a capital budget which is the first year of the plan, which my son Matt will present to you today. We've also been engaged to do a financial forecast over a 5-year period, which also impacts financing. And we've been involved in best practices. Some of you listened in to the discussion on the Infinite Vision system and a proposal from Infinite Visions to enhance the use of their software for county and Aggie employees. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to my son, Matt, who will walk you through the fiscal 22 capital budget. Thank you.
Hello, Matt.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll share a file on the screen now.
Oh.
I'm not able to do that. Oh,
Just made you a co-host.
okay. Okay, file's been shared. Everyone should be able to see it now. Good afternoon. So this is, as Mark mentioned, the capital plan that we've put together for FY22. A lot of work went into this. A quick summary of what work went into it is we had meetings with all of the departments that were identified to have capital needs to discuss those capital needs, what they were, get as specific as possible on all the capital needs. And we asked them to think of whatever they could think of for capital needs. So it might not be something that was regularly funded. It could be just a wish list type item, but we tried to get it all out there on the table. And we took all the information that was learned from meeting with the departments, compiled them into a notes format, and also put them into an Excel format like the one you see in front of you here. So each department has a capital plan that we've put together based on those discussions. We accumulated all that information into one large county-wide file, as we're calling it. Then we worked with county administration on going through some of the high priority capital needs, or the ones that the departments wanted to be funded in the near future, to see which ones could fit into an FY22 plan, assuming there's funding available for those items. So we identify what funding may be available, and we tried to fit the capital needs, the high priority ones, into that funding. And the results of that work is basically what we're looking at right here. This file is an Excel file. It has 3 tabs in it. There's a summary tab, which I'll show you in a moment. There are 2 details tabs. One that lists the items that we're calling funded as of now, which means they have a funding source and funding is available for those items. And then the second details item are items that aren't funded, and we can discuss real quickly some of the reasons why for those items. So this tab, I'll go through this real quick. Items funded tab, going down the left side, we have the department. So we identify them by department. In some cases, there are multiple locations that fall into the jurisdiction of the departments. So we tried to identify that in column B, the second column. Column C has what the item or the project or the purchase is. Column D has the costs of those items, project or purchase. And column F, the 5th column that we see here, is the funding source that was identified for these items. So going downward, this isn't in any type of order besides just alphabetical by department. So you can see that for the funding source, many of them are listed as a prior year unappropriated balance. There was a discussion a few moments ago about whether capital items could be in an operating budget versus a capital budget. We still left the operating budget as a funding source for the items identified here. And in some cases that was selected. So here's one of the cases here. These are golf course grounds improvements, something that regularly has been funded out of the Wollaston operating budget. And even though it was identified as technically a capital item, that has not changed for FY22. Going downward a little bit more prior year unappropriated balance, including some for Norfolk Aggie, as you can see here. We've had some discussions about how capital for Norfolk Aggie is not typically funded from the county's prior year unappropriated balance, but because there is funding available there for these capital items, that's the direction that county administration has gone for now. Just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Now we're getting to the Registry of Deeds. There's some funding sources tied to the Registry of Deeds down here. And all in all, if I add up all of these, that's 32 different items that are funded at over $1 million with different funding sources. I'll show you more summary information in one moment. For the not funded items, we do have a little bit more detail here, some of the reasons why. And we had discussions on the county commissioners meeting last week about some of these items. And as far as I know, there hasn't been any further discussion on that, at least not with us. So there may be some additional information available for some of these not funded items at this point, but here's what we know. For Rentham District Court HVAC carrier unit, we don't have the cost estimates. For the lightning protection system, again, no cost estimates. That was something we talked about last week about maybe moving forward with that project. So if there is more information available, I think we'd like to hear about that. Then for the Norfolk Aggie High School Administration Building, windows need to be done for $40,000. County administration believes that can be done in-house. So county administration would prefer it to be done that way if possible. For Registry of Deeds, there are 2 other projects that listed at $75,000 each that are also maintenance related work to the building or rooms within the building. And again, the question's been asked about possibility of that being done in-house as well. And we haven't gone further on the discussion there for that. And then one other piece would be the treasurer's office, guest office furniture for $10,000. The county didn't see a need for it at this time, so that's why it's listed here. Summary level, tried to kind of pull it all together, get away from the details, get more summary level. There's a table available here for each of the departments. And within that table, we're listing what funding sources have been identified as funding for capital items for those departments, how many items for that funding source and what the cost is. You total it up here, and here's the total unfunded items. There's nothing for the county commissioner's office, which is why there's zeros here. And as we go downward, Wollaston's the first one where you see multiple funding sources. Multiple for the Registry of Deeds as well. Nothing for the treasurer's office. And then if we get back up to the top, this table has everything summarized together by funding source as opposed to by department. So you can see all the dollars and all the items that are currently selected as being funded and how they're being funded, as well as the total unfunded items there on the bottom row. And Mr. Chairman, that was all I planned to discuss with the capital plan today, but we'll take any questions or comments at this time.
Thank you very much. Do the Finance Committee members have any questions?
One question.
Eric?
For
Thanks.
you, Mr. Chairman. Prior year unappropriated balance is still unspent money from operating budget, correct? So the equivalent of what would happen in municipality as free cash.
Exactly.
Okay. Because it seems like a lot of this capital is being funded out of, I mean, for all intents and purposes, being funded out of the operating budget. I'm just not sure if that, again, I'm somewhat new to the county level versus the municipal level, so I'm not sure if that's a common practice or not.
Well, one of the things that, I mean, I'm not an expert and I would defer to someone else, but one of the things that the county is different from municipality is the municipality has an increase in taxes, 2.5%, you know, and you can see that on the line item on revenue from the county assessment. The difference here, of course, is the revenue from the registry, which goes up and down all the time. So I think that is a consideration there as well, but I would defer to someone more knowledgeable than on that. But it is a little bit different than municipal, at least I found it that way, having done municipal budgets myself, but I'm open to hearing other opinions.
If I may, this is Mark Abrahams.
Yes, Mark.
So in response to Mr. Beckerman, you're right that the unappropriated balance is very similar to the municipal free cash concept. One difference is that in the county's case, it is not certified by DOR, as is the free cash.
Right.
But if you think of it like free cash, many best practices would focus that on one-time spending and not to supplement the operating budget. So it's a surplus from prior year.
Yep.
And you could use that for any legal purpose. And what we're trying to do here is use those funds for one-time expenditures like capital. That's the concept here. And that would be similar to best practices in the use of free cash.
Okay, thank you. That clarified.
Do any other members of the Finance Committee have questions? Somebody. Water. We'll go through. Beth, I can see you. Beth, no questions?
I'm good.
All right, Amy?
No questions.
Mr. Connors, are you still in mobile operations?
It's gone, I think.
He's gone. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Actually, Joe, I do have a question.
Aha. Go ahead, Doctor.
And I don't exactly know who this is to. I don't know if it's to you, Matt, or Mark, or even somebody from the county. This seems small to me, actually, in terms of capital needs. And I know this is just for FY22, but I'm wondering if there's a sense of this being a typical year, or if it's a small year, or if this is something we're going to be anticipating every year. This about approximately this amount of capital needs in the county, because I think it's one place that we've never really done this before, where we've laid out our capital needs and thought about that as a separate plan. My question is really kind of thinking a little more long-term, like a 3-year or a 5-year, like what's the sense of that?
Matt, this is Mark again. Matt, why don't you comment on the 10-year plan and what is the average if you were to spread all the capital over that 10-year period?
So I can talk generally while I try and bring up some additional information that may help. But we do, as part of the work that we've done, we identified capital needs covering a 10, in some cases even 11 or 12-year period. And we identified a fiscal year for all of the items that we identified based on priorities, based on just information that was shared. And we laid it all out. And it's in that really large file that I referenced earlier. Now, in terms of starting to look at funding certain items, only FY22 was looked at. But if we're trying to get a sense of, how many items per how many years, we could look at that. But in terms of funding those items, there haven't been discussions on that. Now, I don't have the data formatted in such a way that I could get you an average quickly. But I guess the main point here would be that we have items covering all of the next 5 to 10 years based on the information that was shared. So Dr. Childs, are you looking for more of a 5-year funding plan at this point with that
Yeah,
question?
I was thinking, I was just trying to think about what we're anticipating. Are we looking at $1 million? This is a rounded $1 million a year capital here for FY22. Is that what we're looking at for the next 10 years? Are we looking at, is this a short year and then there's some big years coming up? Are there, it just seemed like it might be helpful to have some perspective on how this year fits in with other years.
Well, I can give you some quick numbers.
Okay,
Now,
thanks.
this doesn't guarantee funding in those years, but at least we can discuss what the needs that were identified are for those years.
Okay.
So for FY23, right now, I'm looking at over $2.7 million. For 24, I'm looking at over $6.7 million. For 25, I'm looking at over $2 million. For 26, less than $1 million, about 880,000. For 27, $400,000. So yes, there are a lot of needs and some high price items identified, as you just heard. Those are totals county-wide, but still, you can see the fluctuations in there. But also another thing to keep in mind is that there are some, we haven't received estimated costs on all of the items identified. So assuming those numbers eventually come in and are added to this plan, those total dollars I just gave you would presumably go up.
That's really helpful, Matt. Thank you.
Sure.
Matt, thank you, Dr. Childs. Any other questions from the Finance Committee? Nope. The minutes of the meeting of March 10th, 2021 is the next item on the agenda. Does anyone have questions about the meeting minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Move to approve Dr.
Second.
Childs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Beckerman. As you're aware, meeting remotely, the Finance Committee has called the roll to ensure that everyone is represented and their vote is accounted for. May I call the roll starting with Mr. Beckerman?
Aye.
Dr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Connors, are you back? He is not. Ms. Frigiletti?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The minutes are approved. Do the members have any other topics that they wish to bring to the fore?
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order. I think you also need to vote, because otherwise we don't have a quorum that just approved that.
Unfortunately, Eric, we have a 6-member group, so 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind.
That's okay. I don't know why it's 6 members, but that's a story for another day.
Well, if you met me, I count as 2, so it works out good.
There you go. Hearing no other topics or suggestions, comments, concerns, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee meeting of the Norfolk County Advisory Board.
So moved.
Mr. Beckerman, is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Childs, calling the roll once again. Mr. Beckerman?
Aye.
Dr. Childs?
Aye.
Ms. Frigiletti?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 3:17. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, the Finance Committee meeting has adjourned. We put it back to the commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chairman Reardon. Okay, we're back our regular business of the Norfolk County Commissioners meeting of April 7th. Commissioners, I'm going to go now back to number 19, which is the budget. Does anyone have anything else today for the budget? Any of the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be remiss if I don't bring this to the full board's attention. I received a rather upsetting letter today, and I just got it from the Director of Finance of Canton. He's fairly new, I will say that. I have worked with him as moderator, but this was completely caught me off guard. And in the letter, he has some serious concerns raised over the Norfolk County Aggie School and the budget proposed. I think some of the allegations may even merit an executive discussion. I'm very fearful of talking more about it, but I think if we go forward on the budget, it could have some adverse consequences for us. At this time, the last thing in the world we need as a county is to have adverse publicity, but it seems that people are bringing it to CFOs in the county, some of the concerns that they have, and it's getting to be, let's say, a little bit more widespread. And I think it might bear something we need to look at. So I would ask that we perhaps put off budget vote on the budget for now and allow me time to consult to see if this is something that might be our executive session and we look at this. There's some serious allegations in this letter, and it does involve personalities. And I can't say any more than that publicly. Very sorry to report this. Very upsetting. Very upsetting.
What are you suggesting? We have a meeting, an emergency, not an emergency, but a executive session at the beginning of the next meeting. We're involved in a heavy schedule at the school next week.
I understand that. I know the timing. I understand totally. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I hate to be the bearer of this news, but this is a letter that is from a CFO. His letter contains, his letter itself contains a letter that was written by other groups, shall I say, that have serious allegations. And I think it'd be more prudent perhaps for that to be discussed executive session. I think it might be a more appropriate area, even if we start our meeting a little early. I understand we're on a time schedule. Solely, Joe, this caught me off guard this morning. I got this after mass, so.
What's your wish? If you want to, am I hear from Elizabeth?
I believe, Commissioner, that this letter went to every city and town because I'm aware of the letter also.
Okay, you did see that. Okay.
Yes, I did see the
Okay.
letter, and
Okay.
I do believe every city and town has gotten it.
Okay.
So whatever the commissioners want to do with it, I don't think this is a one-off issue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. I wasn't
No
sure
problem.
if it had gone out. I wasn't sure of that. And
Yes,
and I
yes,
got
it
this-
did.
I had a busy morning. I got it late.
Yeah.
So did the commissioners get a copy of the letter? Mr. Shea, Chairman Shea? Did you
I
get the letter?
I have not. I've been here all day, but Michelle, you haven't seen any letter from,
I have not.
Yeah, it was written by the,
letter to everyone from the town of Canton or the Canton person?
no, it came from the Aggie Ally Group, Allies for Aggie.
All right, okay.
And they wrote it to all, this
See,
letter went out, Mr. Chairman, this letter went out to all the towns and all the advisory board members. And I didn't realize they had got it and it went out as quick as it did. So I guess it's public record. But his letter to me was that he is concerned as a CFO, and he said now others are concerned. So it seemed to be kind of, taking a life of its own. So I thought we might want to discuss that and before we get into voting the actual budget. It's something that I just got it. I think it bears review. But if it's public record, then it's public record. I didn't realize it had gone out and it went out today. So
We don't have it, but I am sure, and I'm gonna go right to Elizabeth, that I will get one
yeah,
probably by tomorrow when I go out and about.
maybe my point would be, Chairman, for the good of the board, perhaps we all need to look at that letter and to really read it carefully before we vote on the budget and make our final vote. That's all. I think.
I have a question if I can jump in.
Sure.
If we don't, and everything that you're saying, I get that, Dick. But if we don't vote the budget, how does that affect the 14th when we have the advisory board meeting on the budget?
Right.
That's gonna be Michelle's question too.
Yeah.
It's a timeline we have.
Right.
Commissioner, I just want to make a clarification. That letter did not come to me directly. It went to the town leadership, the town CFO leadership.
Okay.
So I don't think it went, at least it didn't come to me as a Norfolk County Advisory Board member, but since I represent our town, it was shared with me in our town.
Right. So, and I only knew about it. You're right. Because then the CFO of Canton wrote to me in an email. I got late. It was late. This morning's a busy morning. And basically in the letter, he said, I and others now have concern about the Aggie budget. And ask you to please look into these matters. So, this is not just, it's the CFOs of all the towns. They're talking about maybe withholding payment. I think he said that. They're thinking about withholding funding, and it's like, whoa, hold on now, time out. So, that's where I'm coming from. I thought next week, forgive me, I thought I have it on my 14th. We're meeting also the candidates for the superintendent's job.
It's
Am I
a
right?
big day.
Yeah,
We are. It's a long day.
And
That's at 3 PM though, the advisory board.
okay.
We have a 3, 4, and 5 meeting next Wednesday to meet with the 3 candidates.
Okay. Wow.
That's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 5 o'clock in Walpole.
Oh.
And then we have to be back for the advisory board meeting at 7 after we've already had our meeting at 1.
Oh, the advisory board is in Walpole and they're going live, not going Zoom?
No. It's Zoom, but you have to get back online by 7 o'clock.
I see. So Aggie School is in person, whereas the other one is going to be Zoom.
Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we meet at 12 o'clock. What a long day, but just something. I think if you haven't got the letter, it's not fair to talk about it, but I think you should see this letter and all of us look at it. And we need to it just has some serious concerns about funding and about the
It is
operation.
It is addressed to Norfolk County Advisory Board and Norfolk County town and city officials. So I'm not sure that it was sent directly to the county officials, which is obviously, you need to see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have seen it. I would not have seen that. But the CFO, like I said, he emailed me this morning, and I was the first I had heard about it. So kind of threw a curve in the process.
But the bigger question is, how does this affect the advisory board meeting at 7 when we're supposed to be presenting the budget?
Right. Well,
Mr. Chair, if I could interject, I'm sorry. It's
Yes, Joe.
typically not my place unless you,
That's all right.
okay. The only reason I bring it up is because this is specific to the advisory board. The concern about the advisory board at this point is twofold. One, the commissioners acting as trustees of the Aggie are going to be engaged in interviews that afternoon, which I understand that's a long day. The other piece, though, is through Mr. Stady's interjection of these questions now, which are admirable in trying to change some things. It is not been scheduled, so the Finance Committee, and I can't speak for Mr. Connors, but he's not here, but I would defer to him on this. We're under the impression that there would be a vote on the budget by the commissioners today so that the full advisory board could entertain that next Wednesday in the public hearing and then vote the following, I believe it's the 19th of May, on the budget. But we won't, it doesn't appear that at this point, we will have a budget voted on and have had sufficient time to review it in order to make a recommendation to the full advisory board or entertain it even at that. We wouldn't make a recommendation certainly until the 19th of May, but we really won't have a budget approved by the commissioners.
That's
Doesn't
correct.
look like.
yeah.
But
And I know, Mr. Chairman, you prided yourself on trying to meet all the deadlines. I commend you for it. You've worked very hard to push this along, but maybe we can't meet the advisory board. We're not gonna have it ready. Plus, we have the maintenance outstanding issue, which I
think maintenance has been resolved, but
oh, okay.
I've been aware of it. However, I spent a lot of time looking up all of this.
Yep.
Past practice, general laws, talking to some people. I don't have personal knowledge, but I've been told by longtime county employees from several departments that changes were made in the budget right up till the very end of the advisory board process.
Oh, yeah.
The general laws do allow, number one. Number two, I was looking for a procedural vote to forward the budget to the advisory board to keep to this calendar. If this so-called letter, which I believe, I'm sure it's out there, is going to take and push it off for another week, so be it. I'm more concerned with And we're gonna hire, we're gonna be in the final stages of hiring a new director, a new superintendent of schools next week. That's been going on since, well, I think it started late in January, to be honest with you. And, they- I know they met Peter can speak to this better than I did. I can, or Richard, but we have a final vote, but Peter's been on the selection committee, and I believe they've narrowed the field to 2 or 3 people.
3 people right now,
Right.
Down to 2?
down to 3.
Down to 3, okay. And that, although that's not budget wise, it may, it may have some effect on this whole thing. Having said that, until we see what's before us, but procedurally, I'd like to take a vote to forward you the budget, knowing that chapter 30, is it 35? It's 3528B. Talks about the advisory board on county expenditures upon receipt of the proposed itemized budget, prepared by the county commissioners, together with any supplementary material prepared by heads of departments or institution, and each board or other agency shall review the proposed budget. The advisory board may increase, decrease, alter, and revise the budget. Now, that's what that paragraph leads me to believe. We should forward you the budget. You've listened to what we've exposed. Well, it's good that you've heard all this today, because now you know what we're going through.
Right,
So
right.
I think technically we can still send you this budget. Now, whether it interferes with your calendar next week, I mean, we've got to give 48 hours notice for an executive session. I mean, we could maybe we, the commissioners, could do something on Monday.
Mr.
But-
Chairman?
It may not be merit for executive session where it already went out publicly to elected and appointed officials, so it may not be appropriate. Maybe what I guess it was shared. I could share that letter with the rest of the board and get that to Bill Buckley and Michelle, and then maybe you study it and make a determination. I just feel you should see the letter before you vote on the county budget, on the Aggie budget. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Through you, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead. Yeah.
irrespective of the letter, which we obviously have yet to see, statutorily, we have requirements for a public hearing of 2 weeks posting. So to be very clear, the Norfolk County Advisory Board public hearing is on the 14th of April. It has been posted. It is in papers of record. It has been sent to the towns. So so that public hearing must go forward. And if we choose to, if we are having a discussion now about changing the timeline, there is a series of, we would have to immediately post notice of cancellation and postponement, then it would take another 2 weeks to post a public hearing, an additional public hearing. But I guess the central question is, I'll put my school committee hat on. Things happen all the time. Someone retires. Just today, we got good news, literally as we were sitting here in this meeting, about the legislature coming to an agreement on Chapter 70. There will be an increase in Chapter 70, nothing monumental, but we know there will not be a cut, and they've come to an agreement between the two branches of that. So that may slightly tweak, so that there is always adjustments, and people move on, retire, the like mid-year. So and that happens in every municipal budget. I think the central question is just the need to give the advisory board some document, and so I would hazard, and also kind of defer to people who've done budgeting and who have done public meetings for a lot more years than I have. But I would say we could give the advisory board a draft budget and perhaps highlight, because we're really talking about 2 or 3 different matters. I think about town meeting in Walpole, just where I am, right before town meeting, the school committee votes their final budget number, and the finance committee votes their final budget number right before we get to town meeting, because things may change. And I think likewise, we I believe we could give to the advisory board a budget number with the understanding that, the night of, we could say there was a change in 3 or 4 line items, but I think it's very important to get some clarification from the commissioners because while we have 6 great members of the advisory board on the call right now, there's 22 others who are not on the call and awaiting documentation from this office, which we will be working diligently into the night tonight and tomorrow to get out if the timeline is the same. But
I agree with you. However,
Yeah.
having said all that,
Mhm.
and I was going to get to that, but I'm
sorry.
glad you weighed in. This January 15th is when the memo went out from this office outlining all these dates. And I know I said it at last week's meeting and maybe 2 weeks ago too. It is an ambitious calendar this year. Last year, I dare say, and maybe Chairman Reardon knows, when we were socially distancing down at the Aggie School for our several meetings, were they as late as were we into June?
Yes, for the second meeting.
I was, I think then Director Mullen, and certainly I was, and the other commissioners were trying to avoid that. However, having said that, we've been talking about this budget, well, department heads late in January, February 24th, we had department heads in. I mean, I haven't seen the letter, so I'm not going to comment on it. But if we started to get 10 letters tomorrow, we have to stick to our calendar within reason. I want to get you a document, having said all this, and if you meet the statutory requirements on Wednesday to open your meeting, I'm not telling you what to do, that starts that. And then if you have if you can continue it to a subsequent date based on whatever information we call out of this. I mean, I don't want to prejudge anything in the letter. I haven't, seen it. And I'm glad it came up today. Otherwise, it probably would have come up tomorrow afternoon or Friday. It would kill any chance of us being the commissioners.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I know past experience, if we're statutorily required, it is what it is. Bring the budget forward. The advantage was we had many of the key people on today. They see some of the questions openly debated, which is good. And we go from there. If we're not totally ready, that's not the end of the world. We're very close. We're way ahead of what has happened in the past. Again, I commend you for that, Joe, for moving this forward like that.
I'm trying to, but I don't want to, we want to weigh in. Let everyone weigh in.
Right.
Just I question the timing a little bit with the agricultural school board been going through a public process to hire a director. But I haven't read the letter. So I'm not telling anyone what to do. If the commissioners want to have an executive session, I will make every effort to get it done. I'll talk to you individually on or about whether we can get it done Monday. We can't even get it done on Friday. We need 48 hours.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be able to tell Michelle and Bill by 4 o'clock tomorrow whether we're going to meet at all on Monday, because we don't count the weekend, so that's considered the proper notice for Monday meeting.
Let me share that information, Mr. Chairman. Allow you the chance and the courtesy, and Peter as well, to read it, and then we could communicate your thoughts to Michelle the appropriate way, and then make a judgment.
That's fine.
I think
that I don't know, how that. I don't know whether that clouds Chairman Reardon and Chairman Connors is thinking, or it makes it clearer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell them what to do when they're counting, but we have given proper notice, but you could open a meeting and move it too, but at least you've opened it, and we're going to deliver everyone a budget.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, coming from the advisory board, not as a commissioner, obviously, so I ask your consideration of my speaking. Is that appropriate? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Is it appropriate that I be recognized? I'm sorry. I know this is a commissioners meeting.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. I would think that to the comments that have been made, the budget process can be a fluid one when it comes to the advisory board. The whole idea of the advisory board is is the advisory board is empowered to make changes subject to the representation of the advisory board from each community, obviously carrying their interest into the budget process. I did just receive, Dr. Childs and the town administrator Milton both sent me a copy of the letter. The letter actually is tied to the meeting of the commissioners next, as I read it, next Wednesday for interviews, as I read it. Now, that's just me. So I do think that while it is weighty to Commissioner Stady's remarks, it is a weighty issue. I do not know that it will have a direct impact on the deliberations of the Finance Committee in the sense that if we had something, we couldn't change it. We certainly could. I just throw that out there. Assistant Director Buckley's point, this has been advertised. I think there is a way to do this perhaps and then make subsequent changes, but I do throw that out so that we may be able to stay on target. And if there are changes, there are changes. There may be a period of 4 weeks where we're all up to our eyeballs in trying to get this together. But I mean, I'm speaking individually as a member of the Finance Committee. I cannot speak for the entire committee, but that is my thought.
Okay, well, last Thursday, we were still meeting in full session with the school board because we made a significant cut in the equipment line to bring the school budget as close or into balance. It was then forwarded to us. And then again, I believe there was 1 or 2 minor changes made prior to this meeting, prior to printing this budget. So that talks to the point of, we go right up to the end. I mean, I was even, when I questioned this a couple of weeks, more than 2 weeks ago, I was said, oh no, we've changed it right up to the last day of the advisory board voting on it. I don't want that to happen. When I hear about this letter, at which I'm sitting right here at this desk, it's the first time, I said to myself, perhaps this has something to do with the appointing of a new superintendent. I'm just guessing. Even that subject, as very, very important as it is, I don't know how that affects the budget, to be very honest with you, but I'm willing to do whatever everyone thinks is right. But we got posting requirements. God knows we get questioned on everything we do. We have lawyers advising us at all. If there's a whole people that, well, I don't, we don't do this willy-nilly. And I don't mean everything's necessarily past practice, because sometimes past practice isn't always the best thing. And we're hiring of an outside due diligence company, the Abraham Group, part of this overall study, taking the capital budget. I mean, we're trying to do things a little differently. We're trying to hire a director of the county. And well, that's out being done by an outside firm that's going to narrow the field. That's record setting for the county of Norfolk, at least in the last 80 years that I can probably comment on, because we're trying to open this whole thing up, not keep it not open if that's the charge here. So that's really weighing very heavy, but I'm willing to do anything that has to be done. But I'm not gonna, again, if we get 10 letters, we have to stick to this somehow, some schedule, that's all. I think I'm gonna ask my fellow commissioners to take a vote today to approve the budget as we have it submitted to you. There is no secret that it could change.
And Mr. Chair, to your point, the whole meeting next week is a public hearing, and any resident of Norfolk County can come and share their thoughts on the budget. So if you do vote today on a budget, that budget certainly, from the advisory board's perspective, preferably in collaboration with the commissioners, can be amended before it is presented to the full advisory board. So I would respectfully suggest that we follow along as prescribed, and then if there are issues subsequent to the advisory board meeting, we address them and work together collaboratively to ensure that the residents of the county are well represented, and the fiduciary responsibility of the commissioners and of the advisory board are met.
Okay, and I agree. And I mean, I just read that section of the general law, not to lecture anyone, because I wanted to be doubly sure. You know, you can increase the budget. You can
Sure.
increase, I mean, so I'd like to stick to the schedule. I'm willing to have an executive session to talk about the letter. I have some thoughts and I'll be happy to express them publicly also after we have our executive session. But if for some reason decision not to go forward on other fields, although we are members of the Norfolk County Agricultural School Board as commissioners, but we're not a majority. I mean, there's 7 members. This has to be weighed in with them also. I can't imagine if we've heard about it by now that they haven't. I haven't heard from anyone, but I'm sure tonight I will or tomorrow, which is fine. But I'd like to take a vote to get it to you, and then what you decide to do next week, whether you, I don't know, open and continue or open and take it under advisement. I mean, you may have to have another meeting. I don't know. Again, the calendar was structured so that we'd start early. Anything we get from the Abrahams group, I try to get on the record like today to open this whole matter of county finances, because the method, there's only one issue in the county, and it's finances and how we pay for all this. I mean, other than that, and I know it's an issue to cities and towns, but they have a little more leverage than we seem to. We're the adopted or the forgotten child of state government, but that's what are you gonna do? We're gonna do the best we can.
So, Mr. Chairman, I understand you're trying to get closure. I appreciate that. I do. Let me get clarification if I could. Earlier, I did make a motion to adjust the budget, and I understand the discussion. We don't need to rehash that. But I thought there was some subsequent suggestions by a FinCom member, Mr. Beckerman, in terms of where we could target some cuts, and then maybe perhaps with some other creative thinking, we could put those positions into maintenance that we wanted. But then the director said he was fine with what he had. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. Is he saying that whatever now is in the budget, he's okay? Or should we, I'm confused myself. Should I be looking to increase our budget to make sure that the other position is funded? Where do we stand on that? That's my first question.
Based on what I believe to be, I would ask the department heads to re-explain to the full advisory board at their public hearing. I'm going to invite them, of which we're going to participate as commissioners. And if we think some of these items should go into the capital budget, we'll ship them over. I know it's going to mean a restructuring, and I probably Michelle and Bill won't ever talk to me again, but I mean, at some point we have to draw the line here and go forward. And
I think in looking also, I had a chance to peruse the letter quickly. I'm multitasking a little bit. And again, where it went public, I don't know if that now would allow us to go into executive session. I'm not going to be expert on that. I would defer to counsel, but where it went.
The first thing we do is call our lawyer. And
So I think the bearing of it had to do indirectly. It does have an effect on the interview process and the superintendent process, but it also speaks about accounting practices that predate at least my membership. Some of them are allegations that go before I was even a commissioner. So I don't. It's a serious letter. Obviously, any letter like this should be looked at. I would leave it that we look at it, and if you're saying that the budget itself is something we need to move forward, but with the idea and the caveat that the budget can always be changed and amended, which Mr. Reardon pointed out. I've known as a member before, the budget can be changed many times and amended, then, so be it. The budget can be debated and discussed and amended, then, but I'd hate to say.
I want to forward it to them.
Right. I mean, I hate to vote for the budget as it is right now, because I have reservations, Joe, I'm being honest. But you know what I'm saying, I have reservations on it. But if we have to move it forward for the timeline, I also don't want to hold it back. That's not fair. So I'm in a quandary, being honest.
Well,
I can move that we move the budget forward as we're required under the statute, move it forward to the advisory board so that they have it. But I want to publicly, for the record, say I've got concerns, as you know that. I've already said that. So that's duly noted. But yeah, I would move that along. And no,
okay, Commissioner,
how's that?
on Commissioner Stay's
Fair?
motion to move the budget forward to the advisory board with the caveat that changes can be made
Yeah, that's fair.
according to the general laws, past practice, everything I could find supports that. However, we want to try to keep to a schedule. If that schedule has to be amended, recessed, whatever down the line, that's fine. But we don't want to go back to square one. So on the motion, Commissioner Collins, you have any other discussion?
No, I'm fine. Yes.
Do we have a second?
Was that seconded? Okay. Oh, sorry. I made the motion, but yeah, it was second, I suppose. Yes,
Okay.
I would say yes. Yep.
Motion's made and seconded. Commissioner Collins, all in favor?
Yes.
And a yes, that's unanimous.
Okay.
Chairman Reardon, we're going to send this budget to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appreciate it.
I hope it's 99% correct, but if it isn't, we'll work with you to make it correct.
Well,
No, we'll
collaborative
make a
process.
decision
We look
on it.
forward to working with the commissioners.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. And all your members.
Okay. I need a report of the county director, and then if we need to discuss any other items, we can do that, and then we're going to adjourn, and I will be back to you through Michelle as quickly as possible. Michelle, on your county director's report, did we cover everything already?
Thank you, Chairman. We covered most things. I only have two short things I wanted to update you on. And the engineering land surveyor position, we still only received one resume to date. The posting will close on April 15th. And regarding the position for the county director, Community Paradigm has confirmed that they have received 8 resumes as of today, and it will close this Friday.
Okay, we'll deal with that at a later date, both items, but they're both important.
Yes, they're very important, especially the latter of the two. And that's all I have this week.
Anything else? Any other topics that we didn't reasonably anticipate would be discussed, which we had just discussed one of them?
We have a full agenda next week, Mr. Chairman, so I would imagine we'll tackle those other items the week after next time, I'm guessing. Because next week, we have to be at the Walpole School at 3:00 for the interviews?
Next week,
At
yeah.
3?
Well, as of now,
Correct.
yes.
Okay, wow, okay,
I know.
interesting. All right,
And Thursday, we have a full meeting of the board of the agricultural.
right, that's in the evening, yes, okay, yeah.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I can make dinner at my house down the street if you'd like.
There you
We can
go.
all sit in the backyard.
There you go, we'll be over there. There you
I'll
go.
entertain a motion to adjourn, and
So moved.
before we adjourn, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'd like to adjourn this meeting in honor of former state representative and former county commissioner David Hearn, who passed away last week
Oh,
in the town of Falmouth, Mass.
oh, my goodness.
David Hearn served in the Great and General Court in the 70s. He served in the 240-man House, and then when it was reduced to the present number, he left and ran for county commissioner. He came to the county on January 1st or 2nd or 3rd in 1978. Could have been as late as the 5th, I guess. And he left in January 1, 2, 3, or 4 in 91. So he served as a county commissioner for 12 years. He was from Norwood, and vaguely remember him, and I know that he was so well thought of. So I just thought it deserved to mention, because there aren't too many living county commissioners around in Massachusetts. So I'd like to adjourn this meeting in honor of David Ahern of Norwood, Mass. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.